Now, Lotto and Nicki, once again, I want to talk about the Lotto and Nicki beef, which has once again erupted and caught a little flame on Lotto's end. Lotto ended up retweeting an old tweet that she put up during the start of their beef yesterday. On this old tweet that she posted in October, Lotto accused Nicki Minaj of having writers behind the scenes, aka ghostwriters. I heard a few of your references before they came out too. You forget we all collab with the same writers, Lotto said. Difference is, I don't deny it. The world's seen me writing since 16 on national TV. Now there's actually a reason, a very interesting reason why Lotto retweeted this old tweet that she put up. So get ready for this. Around 2 nights ago, over 130, that's right, 130 Lotto records ended up leaking. So essentially Lotto suffered from a mass leak of her music. How exactly this happened, I have no clue, but word of advice to any of my artists out there, if your music ends up leaking in this fashion, a lot of times it can actually be some of the people in your camp or just the people that you work with in the studio consistently who could be behind that. That or someone obviously hacks your iCloud account, your email, maybe they get a hold of a hard drive that contains your music through someone, okay? Maybe someone in your camp, I don't know. It's your job as an artist to figure out who that is. Or sometimes it could happen because you happen to record in the same studio as a bunch of other artists. Some of your files are saved in a computer in a studio that a bunch of random artists that you don't know record in. Someone comes across your work, they save the files, and boom, they gotcha. This is why a lot of artists are very careful with what studios they record in. Certain studios in certain cities, they have a very bad reputation of music leaking. So if you're going to record in a studio that maybe you don't really know the reputation of this studio, right? Just make sure that you have your files in your own hard drive and don't let them save it on their computer. From my perspective, it's always better to take precautions, and at the end of the day, your music is your product and you want to make sure that you are protecting your music, you're protecting your product, right? That little precaution aside, shout out to all my artists out there, keep working. So 130 Lotto records ended up leaking. One of these records that leaked was the record Blick Blick by Coi Leray featuring the Queen, Nicki Minaj. So there's this version of the song Blick Blick that just came to the surface, featuring Lotto. It sounds like a reference track or could just be a finished verse, not sure, but it doesn't really sound that polished to be finished. So after this Blick Blick version by Lotto leaked, the conversation now is, wait a second, if there's a reference track to the song that features Nicki Minaj, does that mean that Nicki Minaj stole her bars from Lotto since this reference track or this Lotto version of the track exists? So now you can kind of see why Lotto retweeted that tweet, right? She's obviously trying to instigate the beef with Nicki once again. So what she did with this tweet, low-key was, actually high-key, was she's really trying to make people feed into the whole ghostwriting accusations that she threw at Nicki back in October. And that's obviously given the fact that Lotto suffered from this mass leak that obviously included this one record, which is Blick Blick, and it was her version, right? And now people are saying, damn, look at Nicki copying Lotto when, that's not the case, but we got to keep on talking. There's more. And it's kind of funny how a lot of people are still, for some reason, going off on Nicki. I mean, Nicki hasn't said a damn thing. Apparently, she's on a hiatus right now, so she hasn't really said anything about Lotto right now, and Lotto is the one who's trying to spark up the beef, right? Now, there's a little more meat, okay, to this story, so let's keep on talking. A lot of people are also asking this question now because interesting enough, on this Lotto version of the song Blick Blick, she has the same exact bars as Nicki. Now anyone who's been following the story, you know exactly why she has the same bars as Lotto. It's not really rocket science, so don't drop it in the comments. I'll explain it in just a second. Now just for some context, let me just play this clip right here, okay? So here's Lotto's version of the song. You hear it? And then here's the original track that ended up getting released, and this is Nicki's verse. So people heard Lotto spitting the same bars as Nicki on this leaked version of Blick Blick, and now people are saying Lotto wrote this record, which means she technically wrote Nicki's verse, right? Wrong. So first of all, in these Lotto leaks, her song Big Energy, her hit song, the one Nicki Minaj used as an example in order to point out the hypocrisy of the Grammys, well, a reference track for that song was a part of this mass leak Lotto suffered from. Now here's the thing, this reference track actually had vocals from another person, a man actually. It's alleged to be an artist by the name of London J. He's a writer in the music industry, extremely talented by the way. He has writing credits for the song Barty or Cardi by Cardi B featuring 21 Savage. By the way, this song right here, this is a good fucking song. Shout out to Cardi B for the song. I fuck with this. But it's alleged to be London J. I listened to some of his music and it does actually sound like his vocals on his Big Energy reference track. So with that being said, people have kind of been running with the fact that, you know, there's a reference track for a record Nicki Minaj was featured on. That essentially means that Lotto wrote this record that Nicki Minaj was featured on, right? Not quite right. That's actually wrong. There's just too many holes in that accusation for it to be true. Let me explain. The first hole, I'm sorry, I'm meant to say hole. I'm sorry. I'm not even gonna edit this out. Fuck it. The first hole is of course the fact that there's a reference track for Lotto's biggest record, Big Energy. And the question I want to pose to you is this: since now we can say with confidence, you know, considering this mass leak, that there's a reference track slash an existing version, if you will, of the song Big Energy by Lotto that's not of Lotto's vocals. Who's to say another artist didn't record a reference track prior for Blick Blick? She recorded a version for it with her vocals, then gave it to Coi Leray, who sent it to Nicki Minaj, and she was obviously featured on the final version. In a scenario like this, which could very much be possible, the source would not be Lotto, it would be whoever gave her the reference track. Now let's hit on that point for a second, because here's the thing. There's a tweet that went viral where the user posted 8 seconds of the Blick Blick Lotto version and then 8 seconds of the released Nicki Blick Blick version. That was a screen recording I played earlier, by the way. It was essentially both of these records next to each other, back to back, and this tweet, which had thousands of retweets, I don't think is a fair representation of the situation. The person who posted the tweet is obviously presumably a Lotto fan. They posted the last 8 seconds of Nicki's verse. Nicki's verse on his Blick Blick record is 55 seconds. 8 minus 55, 47. So there's 47 seconds that's been unaccounted for. And here's the thing, right? The part where they're both sharing bars, you know, the hold up part, as stated by Nicki Minaj, was actually an ode to Coi Leray, because Coi Leray in her verse says this hold up part. And I believe Nicki, because this is how a lot of collabs usually sound. One artist features another artist in their song, the featured artist repeats the same bars, and then boom, the hook comes on, right? So the conclusion is, you know, Nicki was using Coi Leray's flow as a way to end the verse by tying it all together. She didn't steal it from Lotto. I feel like that's really important to clarify, because a lot of people are obviously running with the fact that Nicki stole that part from Lotto because they're repeating the same shit, which ain't the case. You can't really steal from someone, you know, if the person you claim they stole it from wasn't the inspiration for that thing. So Nicki has kind of been seeing the wrath of social media after this. A lot of people are saying that Lotto wrote her verse because of this fact. Like we stated, that's obviously not true based on what we spoke about. Also want to talk about this clip that's kind of been floating around Twitter. It's essentially this award speech by Nicki Minaj where she was thanking a lot of the people who had previously worked on her records with her. Let me play the clip and then after this we'll talk.
To all the artists, producers, and writers who've contributed to any of my projects, all the people who allowed me, also to all the people who allowed me to feature on their work. Thank you. I've featured on so many people's music.
So as you could hear, Nicki was thanking her writers, which I want to address. When she's talking about her writers, she's talking about the people who write her hooks, who are also credited on her records as hook writers. It's one thing to have a bunch of people who help you write your hooks and not credit them, and it's another thing to actually credit them and shine a light on them. At that point, it's not ghostwriters, it's just writers. 95% of all the biggest records that you hear, guys, most hooks are not written by the actual artists. The hooks are written by people who are professionals at creating really good hooks. And I don't really see anything wrong with that, by the way. I think getting help with your hooks, that's one thing, but getting help with your damn raps, that's another thing. By the way, someone writing your raps, we don't really call that getting help over here. Okay, let's be fair. That's called getting your shit written for you. Shout out to the boy Quentin Miller. 21, can you do something for me? By the way, were Drake and 21 snuggling in bed, cooped up and in a warm, comfy bed when he recorded that? Because shit does sound like that, bro. Actually, shit, I just saw this pic right here. Just wait, it's Drake in bed and that's 21 in the damn background. What the f? I fucking knew it, bro. As for Nicki writing her own verses, she does actually write her own shit. There was some controversy back in 2015 that involved her ex, Safari. They were together for 12 years and that relationship ended in late 2014 and it was anything but amicable when it ended. Cutting to the chase, after they had split, Safari stated that he was writing a bunch of Nicki's verses, which did have a pretty substantial negative effect on her reputation as a writer. Given the fact that she's always taken a lot of pride in writing her own raps, Safari after this actually came out once again and stated that he didn't actually write for her. So I'm guessing that everything he said was him just being the jealous ex, which is a very common occurrence, okay? It's happened to everybody. Can't believe people are still doubting Nicki Minaj's pen game in 2022, okay? There's a lot of shit you can say about Nicki. She's vicious, She's petty. She does take things too far in a lot of instances. But one thing you can't say is that she doesn't write her own raps. I've literally witnessed Nicki's rise from start to finish for the last, 14 years. That's crazy. But never have I once ever doubted Nicki's pen game, which is something I can't really say for a lot of rappers. And one reason is because Nicki's evolution as a writer has been very natural. As she's grown and elevated on a personal level, so has her pen game. She's just very consistent, has been this consistent going on almost 15 years next year. That's crazy. She's literally a vet in the game, right? At this point, I don't think there should be any doubt about this, so I hope we can leave this conversation in the past where it belongs. That aside, mainly just want to speak on this Lotto x Nicki thing catching flame once again, and people claiming that Lotto wrote her verse because her Blick Blick version leaked. Like we clarified, that's just not the case, and I'm gonna rest my case right now, Your Honor. Outro. Anyway, any thoughts on this topic? We hit on a lot of different points regarding the situation. Do you have anything to add? I'm sure the Barbs will have, a thing or two to add. Curious to hear what the Barbs have to say. They're gonna be in the comment section. You guys already know. But make a video on Nicki. The Barbs are already there, right? They're there. Anyway, let me know what you think about this topic. And yeah, I'm out this bitch, man. And by the way, RP to my plug, man. I just found out that nigga dead, okay? That's why he ain't answering the damn calls, okay? He's dead. No, I'm just kidding. He's not dead, but he might be in jail, bro. Shit, I want to smoke some weed, but I can't. I need a new plug, man. Somebody hit me up with a new plug, man. Fuck.